You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Chrissie, and since my co-host Thad is on an away mission to a convention, we've got another De Clerck takeover of Infinite Diversity. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hello.
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 All right. We will have all sorts of fun talking today, but before we get into that, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders and Justin O's. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5, you can join our Meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. And right now, even if you're not a Patreon subscriber, you can hear this month's episode of It's Green with Mark White as he talks to Galaxy Class's Kevin Scarf about his theater work, including being a Santa for hire. It's fun to listen to. And if you like that, then you can get that Patreon membership going and you'll be able to listen to all of the episodes of It's Green, including the one from last month where I talked about the actual origins of Thanksgiving and, the Pilgrims, and as Mark says, the Nazi Pilgrims. So I think that was fun to listen to, so you'll want to get a Patreon so you can do that. But in the meantime, we are going to talk about this week's episode of Prodigy, which is called Preludes. We got some backstory here. I was very happy about that. Nikki, what were your initial thoughts watching the episode?
I was very excited to see not just the title, knowing what we were getting, and also the number of writers on it.
Oh, I know.
Because they're just kind of I don't know, sharing the load, I guess. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of creativity going into these backstories, and you can tell that there's a lot of thought going into it, and I'm excited to see where connections are made in the future of New Trek too, because there's a lot of opportunities with everything that's going on. It's stuff that they can't necessarily handle in a children's show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I initial thoughts. It was great, and it made me realize that I need to watch more original series too.
Yeah, I need to do a rewatch of the original series because there's been a few references that I've just been like, oh, I'm supposed to know that. But, yeah. The thing about the writers, though, I hadn't thought about that. This episode does lend itself to giving a piece at a time to different people, and you don't have to worry about if everything matches up in terms of writing line. Style. Yeah, because I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
That's
and I think that lends itself to the variety in the characters too.
Yeah, because you don't want everybody to tell the story the same way. Yeah, Cool. Dom, what were your initial thoughts?
I loved it. I thought it was one of the stronger episodes in the season. I obviously with the title, I was really looking forward to seeing the backstory of our characters this late in the season. I'm surprised that we took this long to get there, but a real pleasure to watch. Not to get ahead of myself, but the Medusan backstory for Zero was absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed that. And again, to kind of mirror what Nikki said, it is still a kids show. And there are the common themes that we see in each episode. And I really like how they reminded us of those themes and how to, as adults, to look at a kid's show and to, put us in that. Let me stop there because I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's okay.
But yeah, it was just absolutely a beautiful episode, I thought.
Yeah, it was indeed. Your thoughts, Jay?
I really liked it. I thought they did an excellent job of actually humanizing all of them, giving each of the characters not just their backstory, but to a degree a little bit of the tragedy for each one of them. What it was that actually put them in this position, in the fact that they have to work together in order to get out of it. And I did like that there were some callbacks to particular movies, especially with Zero's story. There's a couple movies I can say that there are some heavy references to.
Yeah, I really like this episode too. I agree that it seems like it was a long time in coming to get the background, but I kind of like waiting, and I think at the same time we feel like it's a lot longer than it was, because we had that long break between the first half and the second half of the season, so that makes a difference. But yeah, this was just great. All right, so we start with Janeway finding out about the kids and all of that, but we're going to come back to that toward the end, because there's a little more action on the Dauntless at that point. But they're fixing up the protostar, and they have to kill some time, so they start telling stories. A classic trope of television and movies to get background and all of that. Okay, I just thought of something funny that this reminded me of. Okay, Nikki, you remember the clip shows on Golden Girls that weren't actually clip shows?
That weren't actually clip shows?
Yeah. When they would do the background story thing, and they would show Sophia and Dorothy at the apartment in...
yes.
And they had some where they had like current stuff too, but it was presented as a clip, but they had never actually done it in an episode. And that just reminded me of that. That's
Yeah, where they're sitting around eating cheesecake.
Yeah. And this is basically that. Oh, I love it. Okay. All the more reason that Golden Girls is an excellent piece of American literature. So we start with Rock Talk's story. And here, Dom, I'll start with you this time. What'd you think about Rock Talk's story?
It felt very Star Warsy to me, but I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It was I really appreciated the fact that we take for granted the fact that everyone can just talk to each other. And understand each other, and it brought to light the idea that there are other races out there that we can't have a dialogue with. And I thought it was a really a nice adaptation of that story, that she was not necessarily a prisoner or a slave, but she was in a position where she needed to feed herself. And she found this way to do that with this hero, in quotes, and then found a nice companion. I think she called him Good Company in the episode, and was able to, survive through that. I really enjoyed that story a lot.
Yeah, it made me think of gladiators being matched up.
Right.
And how she got to where she was, and the other guy too, how and why he got to where he was. Did any of you guys think he kind of looked like D. Bradley Baker's character on the Star Wars cartoons, whose name is escaping me, the clone?
Yes. Yeah, the clone trooper.
Right. Yeah, he looked exactly like an old clone trooper, like just trying to get by, make some money, survive in the world after not the Federation, but after the Empire.
What's his name? I know they all have different names, but there's the one that keeps coming back.
Rex.
Yeah, Rex.
Rex, thank you. Yes. Yeah, he kind of looked like Rex. The universal translator is something we really take for granted. And it's so ubiquitous that we just forget that is not always there. Because it is, unless it's a plot point. And that's a good point, and something good to see in a kid's show. I think the idea of trying to communicate in other ways.
I really appreciated at the end of her story, not to get ahead of ourselves again, but
that's all right. We do that all the time.
Again, it's a kid's show, so we have to remind us of those themes. And she said it's good to talk about it, and I really appreciated that, because a lot of kids don't know that they can talk about issues or their problems or their things that bothered them in the past. So, thumbs up to the writers for that.
Yeah. That I think that's one of the big themes of this episode. So, Jay, what do you think about Rock Talk's story?
I thought it was really good. And it kind of plays into that theme of not judging someone by how they look. Because when there's the interaction between the hero and the little cat person fan.
Oh, yeah. The Cation.
That she was, totally into the hero. And then when Rakta comes out, she doesn't realize that, her appearance is frightening. The fact that, while she has, her inner feelings that she is a good person, it's the idea that she looks like a monster, even when she's trying to friendly interact. And that kind of brought me into the idea of almost like Star Wars. Okay, where you have Han Solo, who's the human, and you have Chewbacca, who is the, Wookiee, who is the scary one. And for the most part, it is Chewbacca who seems to be the one that could moderate between people, even though you can't really understand him that well. He's more empathetic when it comes to trying to get people to work together. But I thought it was very interesting that once there was the comedy element to it of the show, where the hero is slipping around, she was having fun, but not realizing the context that this was going to split them apart because nobody is there to see a comedy. While it's funny at the moment, nobody's going to come back over and over again to see that.
Yeah, I really felt like if they had had a way to communicate with that, and for him to say, this is good, but you still need to lose, it could have worked. But there was no way to communicate that. Yeah. Nikki, what did you think about Raktak?
I think it's adorable that Raktak ended up being the heel in a wrestling. Oh, essentially, I kind of saw it as like a wrestling show. And the thing that I find hardest to believe is that the audience wouldn't come back to see Raktak occasionally be the hero. I think they totally could have made more Latinum out of that. But
yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Because when the bad guy occasionally wins, then people want to come back and see the hero who has fallen rise up again. But I guess I don't know the context. This could have just been like a friggin' asteroid that they were floating around on, and people are just coming once to see him. But anyways,
yeah.
I just loved seeing the what is I see as the most gentle soul on the show.
Yes.
Be a heel in a wrestling match. And I can't remember. Could Raktak? When did we hear Raktak first speak?
Not until they had access to the universal translators.
That's right.
She only roared prior to that.
Okay.
Or sounded like a roar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was the same for all of them. I think in the first episode, they didn't. They couldn't
that's
communicate
right.
Except for Gwyn, because she had all the languages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I like I said, it reminded me of a gladiatorial thing, and the fact that she got sold when she was perceived as no longer making money for them fits right into that as well. I hope at some point we get to know how they got to where they were prior. I really feel like we only know that about Jenkem and Gwyn. And we'll get to Jenkem in a bit here, but...
You mean how, just like where they came from and how they came to be?
Yeah, like, how do you end up with a child Brickar in in this camp where she's having to be as you say, the heel in the wrestling match, and is she actually a child? That's the other thing that I love about this show is that we now know, because what we found out about Dahl is that he's probably mid to late teens. Gwyn, we know with certainty, is in her mid to late teens because of what we found out today, or in this episode, with the diviner, but the other ones could be much, much older. We don't Brickars are a pretty new, not pretty new. This is the first time we've seen a Brickar on screen. They were in the books previously.
Had they been? They were in the books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if anything was established about their life cycles or anything like that. So, I
mean, with them, I don't understand their biology, obviously, but I mean, they're rocks. So,
right.
So Rock Talk could be 400 years old and essentially a toddler in Brickar terms,
Much like the Baby Yoda route. He's 50, but he's still a child, a little baby.
Yeah. Oh, we keep coming back
to
Star
His name
Wars.
is Grogu?
Grogu, yeah. It's still Baby Yoda to me.
He will always be Baby Yoda. That's his surname.
Yeah.
He's Grogu.
Not to compare the two, but yeah.
Oh, we do that all the time. It's hard not to bring in comparisons with the animated Star Wars because you have a lot of the same people working on it for one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that we ever get to hear D. Bradley Baker's actual voice, other than just squeaks but maybe someday.
I think one day we will.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think we're far from Murph's final form.
Yes.
And yeah, boy, his story was interesting, wasn't it? Wow. Wow, I was very excited to hear that. Really good story, but I'm gonna table that for now. We'll put a pin in it and get back to it later.
The toilet humor does bring it back to being a kid's show.
It really does.
All right, let's see. Let's talk about Zero next. Zero's the next one to tell their story. Jay, you said you had some comparisons with a movie about what was going on with the Medusans?
Yes. It reminded me very much of the opening scene in E.T., where you have the group of them going to another planet and as explorers and going out into groups to see what the local fauna and the planet looks like. And there's that part where Zero is separated from the rest of the group because they see that light and they hear the hum and they start going for it. But instead of being like E.T., where he's just left behind and he is able to find Elliot and run away, Zero's captured. And they are able to see the other Medusans flee and not be able to help them. And I thought it was very interesting that when you're seeing the Medusans, they're, these energy beings, and they have a ship. Instead of just being able to travel through, it's kind of a nice, to a degree, limitation for them. The fact that they still need some sort of technology and they still need some sort of protective environment in order to get them from one place to the next over interstellar distances instead of just being able to, free float wherever they want to go. And I thought it was awesome that when you're looking at some of those Medusans too, not only are they all different colors, they were different sizes too, which makes me wonder if, the larger of the groups were the adult Medusans and the smaller ones were adolescents. And this was, a first contact kind of thing, taking them to the first planet to see. And it was nice with that too, how Zero explains, they didn't need to speak. They knew what the other Medusan was thinking. And so you have that almost bittersweet moment of, did the other Medusans feel Zero's desperation when they got caught?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that with E.T. and all of that. I love it.
I thought the movie connection you were going to make was the sound the box was making as Zero was approaching it. Because it sounds like the whale.
Oh, yes.
It sounds like a humpback whale.
Yeah.
I did not catch that.
And I don't think that's a relevant reference or anything, but I was like,
that's another, yeah.
Because you hear it before you see it, and I'm like, what what kind of connection are they trying to make now? I was very confused. And it's just a box to coax him in. But, yeah.
Well, we don't know who sent the probe. I mean, it probably wasn't the Medusan since they knew the Federation, but you never know.
So speaking of which, I don't know the Medusan's story.
Oh, okay.
And it might, I don't know if any of our listeners don't know it either. I don't know.
Good
Take my nerd
point.
card away from me if you want. But I don't know. Their ship looks like a Federation ship. I know that they showed up in like an old Federation ship. I know that they showed up in the original series. That's all I got, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I'm glad you brought that up, because that did require, like, I think we all remember, like, there's all the moment where Spock has to look at the Medusan, and then he's blinded, but then it turns out that this is how we learn it, that Vulcans have extra eyelids, because, why not? But, yeah, the episode that the Medusans come from is called Is There No Truth? I always get this backwards. It's Is There in Truth No Beauty? And it's actually one of the ones with Diana Muldaur, who would later play Dr. Pulaski, right?
The best Next Generation Doctor? Yes.
Well, I don't know. Dr. Bashir was on Next Gen for a few minutes. No, I know.
Oh, good point. Good point. He was the best one.
Anyways. What? Beverly Crusher has excellent bedside manner, and she has shown herself to be competent. But there is something about Dr. Pulaski that's just like, no nonsense, all of that, and I do love that, yeah.
Yeah, I was just teasing.
Oh, no, I know. Well, that's been an ongoing discussion, because back from the start of this show, Brandon's a great lover of Dr. Pulaski and would say that she was the best doctor on Next Gen, and yeah. And then, but then
she has a great story arc, and like she like develops and changes as an individual. Like, she does not think very much of Data in the beginning, but then, I don't know. Anyways, I could go on about that for a bit, but
that's all right. That's why people hate on her, because they're like, "Oh, she was mean to Data, and she didn't recognize Data's humanity." And it's like, no. Remember, by the end of the season, she had his back. She was, defending him along with everyone else. So she had to learn. God's forbid people learn. Anyway, so the story on that is that they have to transport this Medusan, who is the ambassador. Koloth, I think, is his name. I'm going to look.
Koloth?
Just a second. No, Koloth is a... Kolos, excuse me. I was close. So they have to transport the Medusan ambassador, Kolos, and the Medusans are known for having a really good ability to navigate. When they are in Starfleet, they serve as navigators. That's mentioned. But of course, no one can look at them. So his, I don't know what to call her, his attaché, maybe? The woman who works with him is blind. So if you remember ever seeing pictures of Diana Muldaur from TOS, and she's got the like really sparkly overdress, okay, that's supposed to be a sensor net. But of course she can interact with the Medusan because she can't see him. So that's
I love Star Trek.
Huh?
I love Star Trek.
I know.
That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. It makes me think of the episode of Next Gen with the diplomat and the three interpreters.
Yeah, I always forget the name of that episode, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I was going to say, it was cool, too, because they actually got a deaf actor to do that, so that's,
Did they?
Yeah, that actor's actually deaf.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I love Star Trek.
Well, that is why we're here, right? Yeah. So that is the only time that we have run into Medusans on screen, as far as I'm aware, other than Prodigy. There's a little spot in the back of my brain. I feel like one shows up in the post-series books, but I might be wrong on that. I'm sure they've shown up in other books somewhere. But I don't remember.
Thank you for that context. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't even think... I think we talked about that when the show started, but gods, that was last year, so. Yeah, so, Dom, have I asked you about Zero's story. What did you think?
This is what I meant when I meant the episode was really beautiful. I think the cinematography of that entire backstory was just really well done. What I thought was really interesting in the way that the writers decided to show it was when Zero said that the Medusans didn't need to speak. They just knew what they were thinking. All of the dialogue went away, and we were just watching their story unfold, which was a really, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. But I thought it was a beautiful way of telling the story. And of course, the Kazon were involved, which seems to be all of the backstories except for Gwyn.
Yes.
So the Kazon were involved. I mean, I guess they have to simplify it in a kids show to show that we're in the Delta Quadrant, and they're going to use the one big bad, which is the Kazon.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to end up with a little more on that because I wasn't entirely sure if that was the same Kazon who was purchasing all of them.
Right.
I think it might have been, but
just a group of mercenaries
working
for the Diviner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed it was one of their, because they're split up into tribes, right?
Yeah.
I assumed it was a tribe that the Diviner bought over.
Okay.
Or bought.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that.
No, that's all. I just thought that was the most beautiful of the backstories, the way that it was shot. I really enjoyed that one. And I think Jay's right. You can see the desperation when the Medusans were taking off. They were very insynced. They all kind of spiraled around together, and then they floated off, and then they were exploring together and doing a thing. And then when the Kazon were chasing after Zero, you could see the desperation in them trying to get back to the ship. They were scattered and just trying to get back into the ship. I thought that was interesting. A really good point, Jay.
Yeah, it's and they all had the sunglasses thing. I don't know what to call those. The eye protection.
Pulling up a GIF actually of Spock.
Oh, there you go.
Using the sunglasses,
Yep.
From the original series.
I want a set of those sunglasses.
The listeners can't see, but yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was
picture of Miranda Jones and
I don't know if it was dark, if it was night on that planet when this happened, but the only thing that popped in my head was, they're wearing sunglasses at night. The song.
I think
come on, they got the hair for it. They look, they look a little bit like 80s, rockers a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be, yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hoping we will find out, because I wasn't entirely clear, but we know that Zero was used as a weapon. I'm wondering if that was why he was kidnapped. If the intention was to use him them as a weapon, or if the Diviner had some other idea about maybe using them to find the protostar or something. So I hope we find that out.
I mean, if they're gifted navigators,
yeah.
I don't know if that could have anything to do with it.
Or, good point. I literally just said that and I forgot about it.
he could just be using them as a weapon to I don't know, scramble the brains of the unwanted. If somebody gets unruly.
I get the impression from what he said that was one of the ways, that they were used. In earlier, because they talk about being forced to hurt people. So yeah. But yeah, right. They're navigators, or they can be gifted as navigators. So maybe he was planning on trying to use a Medusan to get back to his time period via the protostar.
Could be that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when he inevitably when he did get the protostar, he might have needed a navigator. To actually use it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we don't know how the Medusans perceive space and time. It could be an entirely different thing. But yeah, that was that one. Yeah, I had a tough time thinking about, like, which was the saddest story. Because Rocktox was sad, and then you hear Zero's, and like, well, is that more sad? And not that there's a competition, but it had
I
that
think
feeling.
Zero's was the saddest.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to Jank and Pog yet, but I think Zero's was definitely the most tragic because they were abducted.
He had no choice.
Yeah. Yeah, they knew what they were missing. That's the other thing, too, about, like, Rocktox's backstory. We don't know how much she's aware of prior to that. You know? Which, again, hopefully we'll find out. But you brought up Jank and Pog, and Jank and Pogs is a sad story, but it is also the the bit of humor that's needed in a kid's show to bring it back to something that's not terribly depressing.
You know what Jank and Pog's story is?
What is Jank and Pog's
Jank and Pog's story is a Chief O'Brien DS9 episode.
Oh, God. You're right.
Let's see how much we can torture this engineer.
Oh, I love it. I hadn't even thought of that. That's fantastic.
Jank and Pog has historically been my least favorite character in this show, but this has totally changed that.
Oh. It's the Chief O'Brien connection.
It's the Chief O'Brien connection. It's the this isn't my job, but I've got to fix it. Well, not this isn't my job, but like it's just got to be fixed. And there was so much. So earlier when I mentioned they're like introducing a lot of things that we might hear about in other shows, or in expanded stories. The Teller Prime deep space missions. So, Jank and Pog was put into cryostasis on a mining ship. I think it was a mining ship. Before the Federation. So that was, like 200 years before?
Yeah, he says you have
time.
Well, I had to look it up because for some reason I cannot remember this for the life of me. Federation was founded in 2161, and Prodigy is in 2383. So,
okay,
yeah,
he is obviously not a newborn.
No.
So he is at least like 350 years old.
Biologically.
250,
biologically.
Probably.
250 years old? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do this math.
That's okay.
Yeah, he's old though. Biologically old. So yeah, he ended up on that and in cryostasis. How many years ago though?
Yeah.
So is that Tellarite deep space mission ship still floating around in the Delta Quadrant?
That's a good question.
With a bunch of Tellarites asleep on it?
And a computer that doesn't know how to fix this.
Boxy.
That Boxy was ridiculous.
Oops.
Yeah, so the first time I watched this, I didn't catch that he said before the Federation. I just, I don't know what distracted me, but anyway. But yeah, he says before the Federation, orphans on Teller Prime were stuck on these mining ships. And so if it's pre-Federation, like I said, 2161 on that. But we know from Enterprise that, the Tellarites were involved in the pre-Federation organization that eventually became that. Mm-hmm. So, and they were warp capable at that point. Mm-hmm. So he might even be older. I mean, you said like 350 years, so that would put him being put out into space just about now. Come to think of it. Along with the Dax symbiont who was born 3 years ago, I think, or 4 years ago. Yeah, I think that was established somewhere. It was the human year 2018, I think, when Dax was, when the symbiont was born. But anyway. So are we talking not just pre-Federation, but pre-warp capable?
Yeah, and it would have to be
yeah.
if it's deep, if they're doing cryo sleep.
One would think. I mean, there'd be no reason to do otherwise.
Unless it's super slow warp.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Or just at the speed of light, not quite warp, but...
yeah.
Yeah, that gets into a lot of quantum mechanics that I don't know about. So
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think Jenkem is probably at least a couple hundred years old. Mm-hmm. Biologically, he's probably about, I don't know, early teens to stay consistent with what, the rest of the story.
With the other characters?
With the other characters, yeah. But again, I don't know if Tellarite longevity has ever been established. So, he could be the equivalent of a toddler, well, or more than that, because he's more functional than that. But yeah.
Of the group, he does seem like the oldest, though.
The facial hair does lend itself
to that.
I
think that might be it.
That might be it.
A couple other questions with him, though. Did he ever actually fix the hull damage?
Oh!
And 2, who blocked the toilet?
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
I did think of that.
It was him. He did it to himself. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're the only one on a ship and you block one toilet and you just don't use that one, I can see where he would just ignore it.
That ship would smell so bad by the time they got to where they were going.
Oh God!
He was stinking up the pod. So.
Yeah, he said that. That was just. All right.
It's kind of like a pig, right? So they love their own filth. So that's perfect.
Yeah, pigs are surprisingly clean animals, or so I've heard. But yeah, they do roll around in mud and poo.
One last thing. Was it normal, but pre-Prodigy, was it normal for Tellarites to refer to themselves in the third person?
No.
Okay, so I'm curious if because we don't know how long Jenkem Pug was fixing stuff. Was he stuck on that ship for like a year, talking in the third person to Boxy? And is that why he occasionally does that now?
Considering how many times Boxy asked him for his name.
It was almost every time.
That actually might... Ooh. I'd have to go back and watch it again to see if he refers to himself as Jenkem Pog from the beginning.
No, he does not. He uses I.
Okay. So I think that's a reaction to having to identify himself constantly.
Yeah.
Wow,
the only other thing that the only other entity that he was speaking to, he had to refer to himself in the third person in order for them to understand.
I did not pick up on that. That was, ooh, you just kind of raised the hair on my arms. Because that's another level of sad that I didn't think about.
Jenkem Pog is the Chief O'Brien of...
Jenkem Pog must suffer.
Yeah. But I still think that Prodigy, or the Protostar at 99% power, like that meme, is Rock Talk. And then everybody else, that's 100%.
Yes.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
No,
I digress.
No, don't be sorry.
I'll pass the mic.
It's all right. You can do that. Dom, what'd you think about Jenkem Pog's story?
It was fun. It was a nice little diversion from the sad story of Zero and Rock Talk. It was just a fun, exciting, like fast-paced little bit of his backstory. I really, really appreciated. He started it out with, royalty, because he's been saying that since he learned about Tellarites being a founding member of the Federation, and then Gwyn ending it with "sounds like royalty to me" in how he sacrificed himself to save the crew, the 29 other Tellarites. That was a really sweet little bow on that story. So I really enjoyed that one. That's
you caused me to think about the earlier episode when we find out that Pog is a name used for, how did they say it? For,
I think he said runts.
Little runts. Yeah. So maybe he's fixated on the supposed royalty thing. I love that because, the Federation's supposed to be egalitarian, but he doesn't know that. Maybe he's fixated on that, and maybe that's why he was so insulted by that idea, because that actually is who he is.
Right.
If he's an orphan, then he wouldn't if he's an orphan in a society that puts orphans on spaceships and kicks them out into space and apparently does not pay attention to whether or not they got where they were supposed to go, then yeah.
And just that common theme that, regardless of where they came from, they're here now together, and they're making their own names for themselves. I said it to Nikki when we were watching the episode again. The idea that they're kind of finding their own avenues, or rather channels that they want to stay in. Jacob Pogg's the engineer, Rock Talk's the scientist, all that stuff. But all in all, you see them working together. They're all equals. And even with Dahl as the captain, I really appreciate that about the story. So.
Yeah, that was emphasized this time because he was like, this is your job. And they're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
You do whatever you need to do. Jay, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. It was a great interjection, like Dom and Nikki were saying, to just kind of break the tension for the other ones. But even that, I mean, he is struggling to save everybody else on that ship while they're not conscious. And he has to, and like he said, I'm not even an engineer, wake up the actual engineer. And she, the box saying, oh, can't do that. And so he has to go through and basically, jury rig everything that he needs to in order to get this ship back up and running. And again, sorry, movie references. It reminds me of a few different movies.
Don't be sorry for that.
It reminds me of the beginning of Alien Covenant, where they're on the sleeper ship, and you have that solar storm that comes through, and it messes up the ship and kills the captain, and then it's the rest of the blah, blah, blah. And then it also reminded me of another movie that is called Pandorum, which is along a similar line, where it's a colony ship heading towards a distant planet, and someone is woken up out of their hypersleep, and they realize that, hundreds of years have passed while they've been asleep, and some other people have woken up, and they've degenerated. And that doesn't happen in this.
Their whole life, yeah.
But the idea that, you're waking up way before you're supposed to. In a lot of circumstances, you don't know what you're supposed to do, and you don't know what's going on, and you're not getting the answers. And the fact that Jankum just falls into that role, and to a degree, like, Nikki was saying, almost goes a little insane with it. Because he has to figure out how he's going to do this. And then when he finally gets to that point of rest, just like Dom said, it's the royalty. He sacrifices himself to save the other 29. And even then, there's no guarantee that he did.
Yeah.
But that's what he thought he was doing. Or he believed that's what he was doing.
Part of me hopes that we do see that ship again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like
and
to know.
I hope it's in Prodigy so that Jake and Pug can have that closure.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, there'd be no reason to run into it. I very much doubt they would have integrated that into season 3 of Picard in any way. And that feels a little too heavy for Lower Decks, unless they mentioned it like in passing. I guess it could be, they could present that as kind of funny, like, oh, we've come across this Tellarite sleeper ship that, it was obviously jury-rigged, fixed by somebody, and we don't know why or who. You could make that a Lower Decks thing. Lower Decks is...
You definitely could.
Yeah, but Lower Decks would have to get ahead, because Lower Decks just started 2381 in the last season, so they're behind Prodigy by 2 years.
So they could potentially pass by a Tellarite sleeper ship and be like, wow, that thing is ancient anyways.
That's a good point.
It would not be in the right part of the galaxy, probably, but yeah.
Although, something really strange and interesting is going to happen on Lower Decks if we because we're going to end up with Mariner and Boimler in the previous century on Strange New Worlds. So there's going to be something interesting happening there, but
could be a temporal anomaly.
Mm-hmm. Very likely.
Speaking of temporal anomalies.
Yes.
That one happened in this episode.
Good segue.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, though, I do want to say we knew the Kazon were terrible. I don't think it was ever established they were slavers. Although I think you could probably assume as much from the way they were acting about when they had Cass. But yeah, like, you know, score one for another thing that's terrible about the Kazon.
Man.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, why pick the Kazon to be the bad guys? Like, would we ever get to the point where we'd see a Kazon in Starfleet? Has that happened?
Not on screen. Maybe in books.
Okay, all right. And then, you know what I thought of? I was like, oh, Aaron Eisenberg played the first Ferengi in Starfleet and also happened to play a child Kazon. Oh my god, what if two of his... Well, no, I can't remember what happened to his character in Voyager. But it would just be funny if he played two first-time Starfleet. But anyways,
I'd be rooting for that if he were still around, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm like I said before, I'm not sure if that was the same Kazon that was doing all of that, which to me would imply that he's working for the Diviner. Or maybe has a relationship with the Diviner particular to, you know, a particular type of slave that the Diviner's looking for or whatever. But I suppose we will find out about that.
I was going to say, it's entirely possible that since the Kazon, to a degree, are mercenary looking for technology and weapons, that was an easy way to bring them in. And considering that everybody who was working for the Diviner on that complex was a slave, and he never left, you know, up to that point. That it's entirely possible that he contacted them, and they're like, well, the weapons and money are here, because they were very well equipped to take on a Medusan. They had the cage that could hold her, or hold him, and then they also had the goggles to protect him, and they had the, I guess, like stunning spears or clubs that they had with them. Yeah, those cattle prod
things. Yeah, he's the Kazon are the Dutch and the Portuguese.
So I was thinking about
in the 17th century.
I was thinking about that. I was like, well, the Zero story is you know, the classic. I should not call it that, but like it is the slave story where like there was prosperity and then an unknown entity came in. I mean, it's not really, they're not colonizing but still.
Well, no, so. That I hadn't thought of that until you just said that. Yeah, it is very much God, just to be very particular about it. It's reminiscent of the beginning of Roots and Alex Haley's. I mean, there's more than one of them taken, but it's the same idea where you're just minding your own business, and here come these
and somebody comes and picks you up.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, if you didn't dislike the Kazon before, here's a new reason. But let's talk about that time anomaly. We got some serious background on what happened on Solon.
Solum? I think it's Solum.
Okay, it's Solon was the lawgiver in Athens, so I probably wasn't even thinking and just typed that. Okay.
Going between class notes and podcast notes.
It's not uncommon.
I'm double checking though. I'm pretty sure it's Solum.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's all right. All right. So we knew before that they had a contact with Starfleet and that had prompted civil war. But now we find out that the Diviner was, I guess, pro-Starfleet, or at least pro-interaction. The other thing we don't know is if they were interacting with other intergalactic species, or if this was a first contact for them too.
They called the Federation, or they said they didn't want to join into a primitive alliance.
That's right.
Because, you know, and what ship contacted them in the first place? Because they're in the Delta Quadrant. And when? Right. Because it wouldn't have to be post Voyager, because there was another Federation starship stuck in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, Captain Ransom and I forget what the name of Equinox.
Yeah,
was stuck out there. Yeah.
So who and when?
The when is really kind of driving me batty, because at first I thought it had to be within the Diviner's lifetime. It kind of feels like that when you're watching it. But then, if they've fought a civil war over whether or not they're going to deal with other people, he could simply have been, he could have been born afterward, and that was the side he was on, in favor of. So, and how long did the Civil War last? There's all these bits of information that I want, as a historian, to know.
I think he was present when that first Federation ship showed up.
That's the impression I get, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, also he looks like Elrond.
So he could be 300 years old for all we know,
True.
Sorry,
yeah, we know he's been in the present time period for at least 30 years.
30 or 20?
I thought it was 30.
Okay, I think it's 20, but
that's all right.
Either way.
He's been there for a couple decades at least. While Essentia, the Vindicator, has only been there for 3 years?
Yes.
Anyways, I'm sorry. Let's establish the timeline.
No, you're fine.
Getting ahead of myself.
What do you guys think about Essentia? Do you think there's a real Ensign Essentia out there that the Vindicator replaced, or is that a completely created character that she's been acting?
I think it's created. She ended up earlier in the timeline, or would it be later?
No, she was later.
Yeah, later in the timeline, and then infiltrated Starfleet. So yeah, I don't think there was a previous Essentia. I think she just infiltrated. Well, no, I guess that would lend to believe that she did take the place of the Trill, right?
I don't know.
Does that race have the ability to? I mean, how did she take down that appearance?
She had one of those. She had one of those plot hole buttons on the back of her neck.
Yes.
Oh right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was sorry. That's a
from the
dumb
previous
name for it.
episode. That's right.
Yes.
From the previous episode. From the what's the name? The geneticist.
The geneticist. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that. If it was the same kind of thing, or if it was the same thing. If it was from the.
I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. I'm pretty sure it looks like basically exactly the same, and the reason that we saw it in the previous episode was just to establish that.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up.
The presence of that.
Quite possibly.
Plot hole button.
Plot hole button. I like that.
Disguise button.
Jay, what do you think?
I would say she probably did replace a real person, because Starfleet would definitely have records of who is in their organization, especially after the Dominion War. They would be very close. They would want to keep an eye on who is actually there or not. So I think she definitely, I think to me, she killed the Trill and replaced her completely. And then
That's a good point.
Just assume that identity, because they would be, the Federation, even without Section 9 anymore.
Section 31?
Section 31, yes, sorry. It's been a long time since I watched Deep Space Nine.
I was like, does he know something I don't?
Yeah, well, that's the other super secret version of it. But no, but considering just
they don't have black badges. They just
considering when you think about how many times Starfleet has been infiltrated, even with supposedly their great security system set up. You have if you're looking at Picard, you have a Romulan acting as an admiral, so obviously she had been there for a while to move her way up those ranks. She would have had to have killed the other person, because you couldn't risk the other one just popping up, coming to. And with the initial contact with Starfleet, it's entirely possible that, the Diviner and his people up to that point had decided to do strict isolation and just didn't want to interact with anyone else around them And if, depending on how far in the future we're talking about in the Delta Quadrant, is the Diviners, is this species where they're, existing there, is it after the Federation is gone from the burn? Or during that part? We really don't know the background for how long we're looking at with this.
No, we don't. You just made me think, I was thinking they were contacted in the past. But
no,
of
because
course,
they say
it's their past, but it could be our future.
Yeah, because as they said, the ship was flung back, the Protostar was flung back into the past. So they have to be...
the Protostar got... Oh, well, okay. Yeah. It got kicked into the future, and then Chakotay sent it back. Yeah, it was
kicked in the future, and then when Chakotay and the rest of the crew just couldn't board it, they sent it back into the past.
Right.
And when they're talking about how the Protostar showed up, they said that the sky ripped open. And that anomaly was still there, obviously, for, it to pass back through. So the question is, did that first Federation starship do the same thing?
I didn't even think about that. We have... that could even be past where Discovery's at.
Are you suggesting that the anomaly is, artificial?
Yeah, that it was it was not there before, so it could be either artificially created, or maybe the area that they're around there is had some sort of weird, how many of the Star Trek species had the cloaks that could go around the entire planet, or were only part of the universe, the part of the galaxy every 1,000 years or something like that. Let's just say something like that wasn't happening. There wasn't some sort of phenomenon like that around this planet. And since the Protostar did have an experimental warp drive, what if it ruptured the space-time continuum around that planet?
What if?
Because they say that when they sent those 100 ships into the rift, it started to collapse. And he and Essentia, as far as we know, are the only ones who made it out of that group of 100. Because the anomaly was collapsing as they were going through. So the Protostar may very well have been the thing that damaged it. Because think about how many, again, the time where they were talking about how warp drive was damaging subspace. And for an episode, they had the speed limit where they couldn't go above a certain, warp thing.
It was 3 episodes.
Yeah. But the point being is, we don't know what an experimental engine, in theory, would do. Look how many times they tried that with Voyager and they screwed it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, what? Romulan ships
have an artificial black
run
hole.
On...
Yeah, singularity, yeah.
Okay, I just thought of something crazy, and this might have been where you were going, Jason, but what if that ship that first visited Solum is the Protostar?
Yeah.
From later?
Maybe captained by, an adult Dal and Gwen.
Oh.
And they're like, we need to go back to save Solum. We need to convince them that they need to join the Federation. But that would screw up the timeline like crazy.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it would be any of the kids. Because they said they did interact with Starfleet. They talked to them.
Oh, yeah.
But that also doesn't mean that it's not the Protostar later on in the timeline. Mm-hmm. Under Chakotay or whoever. This completely flipped on its head because I was I think about this and I was like, okay, that was in the past. What did Janeway say? Time travel gives me a headache, right? It was in the past, so I was imagining like you said, some Starfleet who was lost in the Delta Quadrant, interacting. Or maybe even we might find out that this was Voyager in an episode that we didn't see. It could be any time.
Yeah, they left it. They did leave it open.
God, I love this.
Very well. To fill in later on, because there has to be a period of time between when that first Starfleet ship showed up and tried to make initial contact and was rejected, and then that Civil War. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't have been a year or whatever that they tore themselves apart.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a long time.
But in the same sense, it had to be long enough for the Diviner to change his mind. To go from we should work
Yeah.
with these people to we need to annihilate these people in order to protect it, in order to protect us. Because technically he's not, the way it looks to me, the way it sounds is that he is not trying to save the current planet, his current people. He is trying to prevent that timeline from even happening. So it makes me think very much of the year in hell.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes
Yeah.
that totally makes sense, because when they were going through the wormhole, essentially it was explaining that they completely gave up everything to see this through. They all, they all took their own dreadnought or whatever it's called, dreadnought.
Yeah.
Dreadnought,
Their own Jimmy Simpson.
They just sacrificed
Star Trek
everything, and then they became the Diviner and what was Essentia's
Vindicator.
the Vindicator, right?
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the kids in the hall, the Eradicator. Anyway. Sorry.
They also carried, each of those ships carried with them one of their constructs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I still, to this day, believe that those are somehow related to the weird AI things that we saw at the end of Picard Season 1.
Mm-hmm. I think you might be right there.
When, like, space-time ripped open and they were like, what at the time I thought looked like the things from the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
But now they just look too similar to the technology of the Vonnegut.
That's right. I keep forgetting their name, Vonnegut. Yeah. It just occurred to me, too, having discovered this information, it's entirely possible that all of this interaction that we're seeing is what prompts the contact by Starfleet to Solum.
Yeah.
Because, they attacked not a rear admiral, what is she? A vice admiral.
Vice Admiral.
This might be the thing that caused it. Maybe it's what is
time
that?
loop. Self-fulfilling
the time
prophecy.
loop. Yeah, so
I hate
don't
temporal
know.
mechanics.
Yeah, me too. Makes for good story, though.
And a good headache.
Yes.
Yep. Disclaimer, listeners, have your Advil ready.
Well, the other interesting
Yeah.
thing is the titles that each of them have. The Diviner, okay, the one who's going to find them. And then the Vindicator, that is vengeance.
Yeah.
That is vengeance without remorse. Yeah, and the fact that she's, it makes you wonder what the other 98 titles were.
Right?
Me too. Yeah.
And where they ended up. Because they could just be wreaking havoc on... Okay, yeah, that's another thing. Like, we don't know when or where they ended up.
No.
Yeah, because everything was
those other
random when they got
98.
thrown.
Assuming they survived.
Assuming this
Some of them
did
we
see
saw got destroyed.
Yeah, we did see some. But
The thing, the event or the, I don't know, Vonnegut that prompted the Vonnegut. I mean, they could have gone way back in the past, and that is what triggered that first visit to Solum.
yeah, I was thinking it was these events that triggered that, but it could be any of those people.
Yeah,
At any time. Yeah. Oh. Such a good story. Okay. Yeah. Right, and then they knock out Janeway, and that's the end of the episode.
They knock out Janeway with a chop.
Yeah.
Judo chop.
Oh, that chop was great.
The classic. Yep.
I have a question, Chrissy. I don't know if you know, but what is the main propulsion system in the Dauntless?
Oh, that's the slipstream.
It's a slipstream. Okay.
Yeah, I think we know Protostar had slipstream. I would assume Dauntless did too, because it got to where Protostar was supposed to have been.
Yes. Okay. All right. I
that
couldn't remember what was doing it.
Yeah, that goes back to I just watched this episode again. Hope and Fear, I think, is the episode of Voyager where they meet a fake Dauntless, and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that episode.
the guy was
It's got the
his
guy
whole
from
point
Twin
was
Peaks.
Okay, I will take your word on that one. I don't know.
I'm curious. The Dauntless Vice Admiral Janeway that ship that she's on, is it a skeleton crew? Because it only feels like you got the Andorian commander, You've got the Tellurite doctor, and then you've got the Trill ensign, who now we know is the Vindicator.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be anybody else on this massive ship, by the way.
Oh. I
Unless
think
we're
we
just-
haven't
Big compared to
seen
the
them.
Protostar.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we know the Protostar is a very tiny ship.
That's a lot of money to animate all those extra people.
That's fair. I'll
Yeah,
just
you can't just hire
take
an
it with a
extra.
grain of salt then in that sense.
Makes me think of the Deadpool thing. They can't afford another X-Man.
There's nobody else home. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of the Dauntless. We've seen the bridge, and we've seen people on the bridge, and we've seen the medical bay, a piece of it, and we've seen one set of quarters, and that's it. So there's people around. We just haven't seen them. I think anyway. But yeah, so this story's getting good,
Oh,
and you
okay,
guys made me
alright.
think of some other stuff. Go ahead.
Forgive me, I'm looking stuff up.
No, that's fine.
According to Memory Alpha, at some point after 2384, now this gives a date. At some point after 2384, the United Federation of Planets made first contact with Avalnakat when a Prometheus-class ship arrived on Solum. 50 years later, the planet had descended into civil war over whether to pursue relations with aliens, which resulted in the fall of their civilization and near extinction of the species. The Federation chose not to intervene in the conflict.
Wow. I don't think we've had dates.
Yeah,
That would
and
be
this is
2 years ahead of where we're at.
Yeah, okay, so I'm looking at the information, and it says it's based on this episode, Preludes, and A Moral Star Part 2, which was episode 10.
Okay, I need to rewatch. See, I didn't rewatch the first 10 before the second
Me
half of
either.
the season started, but I did not realize that they'd given dates.
Me either.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so that's 2 years ahead of where we're at, so it hasn't happened yet.
No, I don't know what to think.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's the same place we were. It's in the future
I didn't know
somewhere.
what to think before.
No, neither did I. It's okay. All right. Well, we talked about how the lesson was teamwork and sharing one story and not folding in on oneself with this type of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything else.
I was going to say, Rakta had a really good point when she got done with her story. She said, when they were, saying that they didn't know if, that had happened to her, and she said, but that's okay, because if it hadn't, I wouldn't have met you. And it's that idea that, even though there are bad things that happen in life to everybody, sometimes there is a silver lining to it. If nothing else, it's the idea that every person you interact with teaches you something, whether it's something for your benefit or something for your detriment. And in this case, these people, these entities were all, in effect, orphans. And, it's not the family you're born into, it's the family that you make. It's especially when it comes to, the fact that the diviner, he never told his child why he was there or why they were doing these things, and saying that, it's your responsibility later on to finish it, and I'll tell you more about it later. It's like, maybe if you just told her about the Civil War, she would have told you it was a bad idea to enslave everybody.
Yeah, she knew that there was a conflict. I don't know that she knew all the particulars, but...
Yeah.
She was probably told just enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But, you know what? That's the same message that we got at on Lower Decks, The Found Family.
Yeah.
That episode with the reporter and all of that. So,
Yeah, and I think that's a solid message for a lot of Star Trek.
yes.
Yes.
And that's like, especially with like Nog and and Worf.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Worf found family and made more family and still abandoned it.
Oh boy.
Anyways, I think, but yeah,
Yeah,
Starfleet is very much about that found family.
Picard, too.
Yeah.
Particularly after what we found out this last season. So...
I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. I'm joking.
I think this episode
I
was really
scoff
good.
at you. Yeah.
a really good stepping stone for Dahl too, as our main character, stepping out of his selfish behavior. And I think we're going to see from now on, he's going to be more focused on the others rather than himself. So, I mean, it started in the episode with him saying, well, blah, 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 all about me. And then we got the stories. So I think that was a nice theme and point for Dahl as a character.
Yeah. I think we'll see. I think he's on the right track, like you're saying. I think we'll probably see some relapses of selfishness because we all do that. We all have those moments, and it's worse in teenagers. But yeah. Well, I think we covered all of the canon connections except for the one at the very end when they were asking hologram Janeway. And what does she decide to tell them about Molly? Molly. That's so sweet.
I was really I hope that at some point she pulls up like a hologram of Molly and Rock Talk gets to interact with Molly. Oh,
yes.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
The little alien puppies from the last episode that she was all excited about. Yeah.
So presumably they're gonna abscond with the Dauntless to find the Protostar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, and they're gonna find the Protostar, and then the Protostar is gonna like instinctively attack it, and then the Vindicator and the Diviner are gonna be like, "Well, we gotta stop this." What was it called? Construct.
And they'll know how.
And then they'll figure out how.
Well, yes, and thank you all for joining me today. Like I say, this has been fun. Nikki, if people want to talk to you about your thoughts on quantum mechanics and time travel or anything else, is there somewhere online that they can hit you up?
On Instagram, NICKIEZEBRA, Nikki Zebra.
Nikki Zebra. Yeah. And they should follow you for awesome pictures of Nog the dog.
Nog the dog.
Yes. Nog the dog is adorable. Dom, what about you? If anybody wants to talk about...
Definitely. Same Instagram. It's Dom_Virginio, V as in Victor, IRGINIO. And there you can also see pictures of our dog, Nog, and our matching sweatshirts. So if you like really corny couples who love their pet dog, definitely check us out there.
Yay. You guys are adorable. All right, Jay, our listeners in part know where to find you. Go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say, hopefully you are also listening to History with the Szilagys, where Chrissy and I do a twice-weekly podcast on historical topics. But if you do want to reach out, you can find me on Twitter at JasonDarkElf.
Yeah, and History with the Szilagys is going to be back this week. When this episode drops, there should be an episode of History with the Szilagys that drops with it, barring any other weird family emergencies, which everyone's fine, by the way, but it was, got in the way. And I should say, if they follow you on Twitter, they will also see awesome pictures of all of your Warhammer miniatures that you're painting.
Ah, yes.
So, if you're into painting miniatures, Warhammer or otherwise, definitely follow. And of course, listeners know that you can find me as well on History with the Szilagys, and I am happy to chat about our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics.
Don't forget all of our other great shows on the BQN, the Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Union Federation, What's the Tea, Bev, Mickey's Marvels, and History with the Szilagys. And exclusively for our Patreon members, there's It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moment.
Yes, and remember, if you're not a patron, you can listen to this month's episode of It's Green through the end of the month, through the 31st, in the feed with the patrons roundtables. But I will link it in the show description here. Like I say, it's a lot of fun. And thank you so much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player and don't forget to rate and review us there as well. If you'd like to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. When you next hear from us, we'll be talking about the next episode of Prodigy, which is called Ghost in the Machine, which hopefully will not be the same story as the X-Files episode Ghost in the Machine. Until then, we bid you peace and long life.